Hello there, I am Declan and welcome to Student View, Ocean View College's podcast, developed by students for the Ocean View College community. Now, to help me introduce this new podcast, we have Leigh Harder from Creative Technologies to talk about and help me explain what the podcast is.
So the idea is to create a school podcast that can be an easier way for students to know what's happening within the school and the community. The podcast is featuring staff and students from across the school, creating quality entertainment and content. Along the way, you will not only get to know some of your peers better, but your teachers too. There are interviews, bulletins, updates, conversations and music, all in a short time frame to be listened to on the way to school, during mentor group or at recess. So the Creative Industries course is a program designed to connect students with their creative passions and frame learning to teach skills that are relevant to growing careers and industries here in SA. The course has a big focus on high-end ICT and digital capabilities, independent inquiry, neuroflexibility, and critical and creative thought.
Thank you, Leigh. Now, we are going to divert now to our first interview on this podcast. I'm excited about it. It is with our school principal, Mr. Brandwood, and do you know what? We've got so much to share. So we're going to be talking about what motivates him, what inspires him, where he sees the school going, and there's so much more coming. So in order to keep the content coming, we do need you guys to subscribe, follow, do all of the things. And because it's such a great platform, we will be interviewing students and teachers in upcoming episodes, so make sure you keep your ear pinned to the wall. Not literally, please, but listen out, because there's going to be, maybe some exclusive interviews, and I'm quite excited about that. So let's jump into the first one. Now I have 8 questions to ask you, all of which will be the same for every interviewed guest. The first one being, what motivates you?
Motivates me professionally is that I love working with people. I always have. I like to support at the school. I like to support adults and kids to do their best. And I think also what motivates me is I've always loved challenges. I'm really motivated by a difficult challenge, and I guess as an ex-music teacher, but as a musician, I've had a lot of challenges in terms of my own writing and performances, and performing in front of lots of people. That kind of adrenaline of a big challenge. And another example would be in many decades ago now, I decided to build a mud brick house in Wollonga.
Oh, cool.
And I'd always grown up building things. Mm-hmm. And a very, very handy father had shown me lots of stuff, but I'd never built a house. But I thought, how hard can it be? So I made 6,500 mud bricks and built a big timber frame out of Jarrah posts that are from the port, actually.
Nice.
And then over a 2-year period of weekends and holidays, I built this house that is, funnily enough, still standing. Those kind of challenges I really always loved. That really motivated me to take on those sort of, difficult scenarios.
That's great. Are you more of a self-motivator, or do you need something then to sort of invoke you? Or
Yeah, I'm a pretty intrinsically driven person on a bunch of levels, and so I guess like anyone, you don't like to fail, but I really like to go after something and achieve what I set out to achieve. And so, yeah, it is, and I'm a big optimist, so I always try and see the positive in scenarios and really take away from that challenge if it doesn't go so well. What have I learned? What went well? What perhaps didn't? What can I learn from it? Yeah.
Fantastic.
What would you say inspires you?
Probably in a similar vein to the last question. I really like to see positive change, and so on a school level, I'm driven, and you're probably aware the school has a review every 3 years. Every school has a review every 3 years. So I'm not driven by being frightened of that review, but what I love to see from that, and what does inspire me, is to see the upward trend in the school in terms of student achievement. So, on a school level, that really inspires me to see great teachers, and kids really enjoying learning, not just the data saying we've got this many A's and B's, but actually see kids engaged in really good curriculum. And an example of that, I think, so far is the new Year 7 classrooms. the teachers in those classes are guns. You can see the kids are engaged, and they're not all they're not all perfect little quiet learning sponges. There's some challenging kids, but you can see they're engaged. They're enjoying it. They're swept into a positive culture. The teachers are meeting their needs. That's inspiring on an educational level. And I also think what inspires me is that, similar to the challenges comment, is sort of seeing positive change in kids against odds. Some of our children and families have struggles, and it's great to see kids seeing school as something that's relevant and meaningful despite what's going on out of school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you describe your position in 3 words?
I had to think about that one for a while, and I think for me the 3 words would be building the future. Because what I'm about is giving teachers and leaders the tools to do their job really well. And doing the job really well means, yes, students achieve and get through year 12, but it's about building successful citizens in a sense. That if there are kids here who have all sorts of social, emotional issues or well-being issues, that we're trying to address that and build that resilience in them and responsibility, and seeing that they leave us to be successful citizens, not head off into down the drain into crime and drugs and all that sort of end of town. So that's so I see us building the future. Yeah.
All right. How do you manage stress? Because obviously it is a very stressful job, and I mean there's stress with everything.
Yeah.
How do you cope?
So it's an interesting question too, because I'm not sure if people are aware, but we have a primary, middle years and senior years. We also have Harbourview, and then the Children's Centre, our preschool and Children's Centre is also under my responsibility. So on certain days, surprises come from any part of the school. It could be a 4.5-year-old or an 18-year-old, or there is a fair bit to manage. I have been a principal this year for 20 years, so and I've worked in high-level disadvantage. So I've worked at Bowden Brompton Community School for a long time, which is a school where it's sort of the end of the road in a sense for a lot of students, that schools say, we can't have this kid. So there's some pretty extreme disadvantage, extreme behaviour. I've worked as a principal of an Aboriginal school. So again, lots of challenges. And so I think I've just said to someone recently, a student, I've said, you probably can't think of something I haven't been called, over those years. But to me, I've learned, really good leadership is around always remaining calm. Definitely. And being logical and sequential, working, problem solving. And as an arts person, I think I'm pretty good at the problem solving and creative solutions. But it does raise a good point, because a lot of the time that can mask stuff that is building inside you. Like if you're under a lot of stress, you kind of go, hey, I'll be stoic. It's fine. It's good, But inside, it is taking a toll, and it can take a toll on your family, when you've got a short fuse or whatever. And so I just try and really remain mindful about what is important, and that I love this place, but it is work. And what is the most important to me is my family, And keeping that balance and being mindful of that is really, really important. So, yeah, and I think a lot of things don't stick for me. Like some people, and taking Bowden Brompton as an example, there were teachers there who would work there for a year and go, I can't do this. It's too stressful. Yeah. There'd be teachers who'd last 3 or 4 years and go, I think I've done my time, and then, whereas for me, I lasted, I think, 12 or 13 years there as a music teacher and a AP and a DP and then principal. And as a music teacher, I loved it, because to me it was high-end disadvantaged students who I could show them how to play guitar or drums or whatever, and you'd see some kids go, oh my God, I can actually do this. Like, I'm actually playing an instrument. I'm starting to believe in myself, and in a way I would create monsters, because sometimes they would just go, I just want to be doing music all day long, and we'd be going, no, you can't. You've got to do other stuff. But seeing that change in kids, which is what happens here. Yeah, there's stressful times here, but seeing that light in every kid is what I think helps me manage the stress. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, also congratulations on 20 years. That's
Thank
exciting.
you very much. Thank you very much.
What's your favourite hobby? So you were talking about the balance.
Yeah.
What's a hobby that keeps you, I suppose?
Yeah, we'll see. No, I guess I have a range of hobbies, and that's true. You know, having school as your life is not healthy,
No.
and so I've always been, as I've said, a musician and performing and playing. I've been writing music since I was a teenager, so that continues to be an outlet. And playing an instrument, you're probably aware. You know, playing an instrument is cathartic. You know, you play, if you're writing, you express emotions. You know, and a lot of that stuff, when it gets down on paper or onto a recording, it releases a whole bunch of stuff for me. So I think that's another stress management tool with some of my hobbies. And I've always been a builder, as I described with the mud brick house, but also just building projects, DIY. I've always surfed, so, you know, water and outdoors is a thing for me. So, yeah, I maintain a pretty healthy lifestyle in terms of hobbies.
What would you like to see happen this year, whether that's, I don't know, whether that's greater community, whether that's a school?
Yep. Well, and I guess we got through our external review last year, which was really, really positive, and that's fantastic because the one before wasn't so great, like way back the year before I started. And so I'm really happy that we're now developing the next 3 years of, you know, what it looks like. And so for me, like the facility we're in now, what I'm wanting to see is people live in these facilities. You know, we've come a long way in 5 years in terms of this place as a school. So I really want to see people use the facilities, and that's why it gives me satisfaction to see those Year 7 classrooms just pumping, because it's, you know, it's okay to have a nice building, but it's about what goes on in the building. So I want to see that happen, and I want to see continued improvement. I want to see continued promotion of the site as the fabulous site that it is.
Yes, definitely.
And, you know, you're probably aware, 20 years ago plus, it was Taparoo High School from the 60s, and there's a whole bunch of old reputational stuff that goes with that. We know we're a fabulous school, and this year we have got quite a lot of new students from Largs and other places who are having a great time, and so I really want to keep chipping away at that, building enrolments. I don't want to get too big, but I think, you know, if we get around 750, we're about 690 now.
Wow.
You know, I think that's a good size school where I like to still be, you know, like us knowing each other. I still like to be able to, you know a lot of the kids in the school. And once you get to 1,500, you see kids that you think you've never seen before every day. You know, I don't want to get that big.
No. Now, your desk, are you organised or organised chaos?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. That's a clever question, and I think I'm probably both. So on some levels, it's my role to have strategic plans. I really like stuff to be planned. I really do not like walking into, you know, an assembly or an event where things go wrong and no one's thought about the itinerary or the order of things, and, you know, sound doesn't work, or, you know, I don't like surprises where things go wrong. I like to be well planned, but I also think, and if you'd probably be an excellent teacher if you ever become a teacher. Good teachers are good wingers, you know, like teachers who are in a class and they've got this fantastic plan and it all goes to crap because, you know, something happens, or a kid takes the subject or the topic to an amazing place. That's a good teacher is someone to go, hey, let's drop this, let's go with that, because that's a really good point. And so to me, good teachers are good duckers and weavers, and I think I'm an expert at winging and ducking and weaving. So, you know, I make a joke with my front office staff that occasionally we'll get a parent who comes in and will say, I need to speak to the principal, I'm not happy, you know, whatever. And I bring them in, and, you know, I think what I try and do is absolutely let people vent, listen, work through things, and I make a joke with my front office staff saying, they come in angry, they go out happy. But, you know, I think those things in a school happen all the time, the chaos where you go, I'm actually getting some work done today, and then suddenly something will happen, you know, whether it be an issue with a kid, which isn't really all that often, but there can be all sorts of things, you know, suddenly an MP or a politician will be in the front office, thought they'd just drop in, or, you know, there'll be some sort of crisis like the COVID stuff has been that's organised chaos. you know.
Definitely.
It's just every week it's a different ball game. So I think you strive to be organised, but you have to be good at the chaos. Yeah.
I like that. Now, a little bit more personal. This question does change depending on the interviewee.
Yeah.
What is your favourite song you play on the guitar?
So I have chosen, like all my sort of musician life, I've chosen to not play other people's songs. So I've always been a writer of my own stuff, and then in a set, I've played all around Australia, up and down the East Coast, and so sometimes I'll think, all right, we'll throw in a cover because it might connect to the audience who don't know all of our songs that we're playing in Sydney somewhere. This is really in the 90s and 80s I'm talking here. I haven't played a lot, other than we had a reunion show last year at the Gov, and we've got one coming up.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, March 18, everybody.
Yes, tune in.
It's like being a painter and thinking, I'm going to copy someone else's paintings. To me, you can be really good at copying someone else's work, but to me that's not what art is about. So I've tended to do mine. However, I think one of the songs I've most enjoyed playing when I really gave it a lot of thought was one of the early U2 songs called I Will Follow. And it's really because it's just an amazing guitar song to me, fantastic riff, and you can Spotify it and listen to it. In fact, I did listen to it yesterday after I thought of it. I thought, I haven't heard that song for a long time, and then listened to this. I watched a film clip from back, it's back in 1982, I think. Yep. And old-fashioned, the whole post-punk thing going on. But the song, it still lives to me. I love that. I love that song. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. So thank you very much, Mr. Brandwood, for coming on the podcast.
Great pleasure, Declan.
Now, if you are interested in more content like this, please let me know. And make sure you subscribe, follow, and make sure you like it if you're on Spotify. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's Student View, Ocean View College's podcast.